My name is Julie Dauer. I just wanted to start this video off by saying thank you to Hannah for inviting me to be on this podcast. I'm really excited.
Hello there, my name is Aileen.
Growing up, what started your environmental interests?
I would have to say what started my environmental interest was just when I was younger. I loved learning about animals, and I loved learning about their behavior, learning about their adaptations, learning about where they lived. So I think that was really what started it. But when I was in 6th grade, I had a field trip to the CSU Mountain campus actually, and it was 3 days, and I think that really helped to solidify my passions for the outdoors and learning about animals. That was also my first hike. It was like 11 miles or something, so that was really intense for a 6th grader, but I just loved it when I got up to the top. It was just so beautiful. So I think that's what really helped to start that environmental interest.
So for this one, my parents really get the most credit for really kickstarting those environmental interests. I was really fortunate growing up that both of my parents were teachers, so they really valued education, and most importantly, they had summers off. So that meant we were able to do a lot of road trips and camping trips growing up. Even when we weren't camping, my mom made a point of taking us on day trips to the zoo, museums, nature centers, open spaces, parks. So I got a lot of opportunities to be outside and just explore, so I'm really thankful for what they did for me there.
So I was born and raised in Colorado, and to start off, I think that really was impactful for me. There's so many places to visit in Colorado and so many ecologically diverse places in Colorado that I think I was really exposed to a lot of different ecosystems, a lot of different flora and fauna. As a young child, obviously I didn't understand those terms, but I got that exposure. And because of that exposure combined with the innate curiosity of a young child, I think that I developed this love for being outdoors and for discovering new things. And I think that was only reinforced by the fact that my family mostly went on camping trips for vacation, so I was exposed to a bunch of different national parks, different areas of our country, and a lot of the activities we did on our vacation were based around hiking or watching the educational video in the visitor center or looking at birds or whatever it may be. It was really just that exposure to being outside and then fostering a love for doing those things.
Question number 2. What made you want to pursue an environmental degree? Did you have an aha moment where it all clicked into place, or a person who inspired you?
I would have to say when I first got to college, I went into zoology. Just because I knew I wanted to work with animals, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. But as I was working in zoology, as I was doing my classes and I was looking over the required classes in the future, I started to realize that this degree was catered more towards people who wanted to actually work in zoos or wanted to be a vet. And those were two things that I didn't really want to do. But I did know I wanted to work outside and still maybe be able to work with animals. So I kind of looked around to see what other degrees there might be, and I came across wildlife biology. So I switched to that because I was looking at the courses and it definitely seemed a lot more on track with what I kind of thought I wanted to do. And but then I switched over to conservation biology just because I thought it sounded a little bit more broad. So it sounded a little better, but it was essentially the same degree. So that's really the reason why I started going into an environmental degree, just because I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go, but not exactly sure of what path to take exactly. So that was really why I pursued an environmental degree.
My aha moment happened when I was 12. We were on a summer camping trip to Mesa Verde National Park, and somehow we ended up going on a guided hike, and if I remember correctly, we were the only family on that hike. So I had the opportunity to ask the ranger lots of questions. I'm sure I was a little bit annoying, but I got to ask her lots of questions, and I was just so amazed at this young female ranger who knew so much about the environment around her and the plants and the animals and the archaeology and the night sky and the history of the area. And in that moment, I decided that that is what I wanted to be like. I wanted to be able to pursue a lot of different interests, and I saw a career in the outdoors as an opportunity to explore the many different interests I had.
So, when I graduated high school, I actually went to school to do nursing for a year. And I think that first year in college for me was really an eye opener. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something that was impactful. And the first um, year for me in school, I kind of came to realize that there were very big issues that our world was facing that was based off of the changing climate and the way natural resources are managed. So I decided to switch from helping people directly to helping our planet directly and helping people indirectly. And I'm so happy that I made that decision because I think that I didn't realize how much I wanted to be studying the environment until I got into those science classes for nursing. And I was like, I'm way more interested in how biology works in plants than in people. So I switched into the sustainability field and then further into watershed science. And I think that it really was a combination of just finding out what really is going on in the world, being interested in science, and those experiences I had as a young child.
What was special about working at the ELC, and how did it impact my college experience? I would have to say working at the ELC was special for, well, just a lot of reasons. But I think one reason it was special to not only the educators but the students was because it was so accessible for just any school in the area to go to. And on top of that, it had 3 different ecosystems in the area. So students got to learn about a lot of different things in just one day, or they could make it multiple days. So I think that was what made the ELC really special. What also made it special to me is that I got to learn all of the different skills that I would need as an environmental educator in college, which I think is really difficult for a lot of college students to get. I know a lot of students really struggle with getting the experience during their college experience, and that usually has to be through volunteer work anyway too. So it was really awesome that it was my job, and I also got all of those skills that I would need outside of college. Like we got to learn how to make our own lesson plans, and we also got to really help with any program development. So I think that was really amazing, and that was a really cool experience for college.
So I worked at the ELC for 5 of my 7 semesters at Colorado State University. I was hired at the beginning of my sophomore year. The ELC became a really special place for me. It was a really important community during my time at CSU. It was really incredible and really special and unique, I would say, to be surrounded by people who are passionate and excited about environmental education as my first real steps into the world of environmental education. The ELC gave me a place to grow, both as an educator and as an individual exploring my interests. And I had the unique opportunity of graduating, already having had experiences in writing lesson plans, researching lesson plans, leading those lesson plans that I think a lot of other people would not be able to explore had they not had the opportunity to work at the ELC.
I'm sure Hannah can agree with this when I say that having a job at the Environmental Learning Center is probably the best job that you can get in undergrad. Just the sheer volume of amazing people that I met impacted me in a way that I will remember forever. Everyone on our team was so friendly and diverse, and that really created opportunities for collaboration. For example, my major was watershed science, We had people in conservation biology, forestry, you name it, so diverse in the field of natural resources. So we were really able to use our knowledge to teach each other and then teach the community. So that was really awesome. And on top of that, we got to do a lot of events in the Fort Collins community and with the faculty in the natural resources department. So it was super great. I could go on that question. How has working as an environmental educator impacted you, and what lessons did you learn from it?
Environmental education has really made me a very patient person, and it has also made me very appreciative for how accessible the outdoors is to myself compared to some other groups. So I have definitely learned how to be patient by working with a wide variety of groups and a wide variety of ages, and just being patient with what they feel comfortable with and being able to help talk them through any sort of problems that they're facing, any sort of mental hurdles that they need to overcome, and just learning how to be their support system in those moments. So I would also say I am really appreciative of how often I get to go outside and how often I get to go camping, and that I've been able to build up my own gear library, I guess. And that's not very easy for some people to get, and it definitely took me a while to build that up. And I think that it makes me very appreciative of what I have, because I know what I didn't have before, and I know how difficult it was for me to get outside with what little of things that I had. And I think that growing up, I didn't really have the same access to the outdoors as some other groups did. And I think that can be said for a lot of people of color as well, is that it's just difficult to get outside sometimes. And so now that I'm here, I'm really appreciative of what I have. And I think that's a really big lesson that I've learned. And I think I also relive that kind of appreciation every single time I work with groups that are doing something new in the outdoors. For example, when I was an intern at Grand Canyon, and we were all sitting around the fire pit, and there was another intern next to us, and she had never seen the stars really. She was from Atlanta, and she had never really seen the stars, and we just had the fire in the fire pit going on, and she saw a ton of stars, and she's like, oh my god, that's crazy how many stars there are right now. And so what I told her was like, well, wait till the fire goes out, you're gonna see way more. And she was like, no way. Like, she was in denial that you could see any more stars. And of course, when the fire went out, you could see the whole Milky Way, you could see a lot more stars, and she almost cried. And so it was just that kind of moment that I was just like, whoa, like I forgot that, this is, something new to her, and she, has never been able to see stars like this before. And she didn't have the access to see stars like that before. And luckily I still live in Colorado, so we can see the stars pretty well for the most part, like in some of the quieter towns. Those are some of the lessons that I learned from environmental education.
So I would say the most important lesson I've learned from being an environmental educator is the importance of being flexible and adaptable. So my personality is that I just like to plan. I don't like to go into anything without a plan on me. But when you're working outdoors, especially when you're working with kiddos in that context of environmental education, you can plan all you want, but you find that caterpillar on the trail, or you see an owl, or maybe the kid scrapes their knee, or a kiddo falls in the river, and that plan kind of goes out the window. And so sometimes the plan should go out the window. As an environmental educator, I think it's most important to have kind of a broad end goal, kind of have that big perspective of what message you're trying to convey. For me, it's usually a message of how do we respect this environment, how do we value this environment, how do we value nature, and recognize that our little goals, maybe we want to talk about tree ecology, might not be as valuable as the big end goal. So if talking about the owl that just flew overhead is more interesting and engaging at that moment, then that's what you need to pursue. And it's also all about connections. How do you connect the owl to tree ecology? How do you connect the river that Timmy fell into to tree ecology, or whatever your lesson is on? So just that importance of being flexible, being adaptable, and taking that into all aspects of your life.
I think that being an environmental educator really fits so many facets of personal development. You get the understanding of psychology and how different ages will need different activities, and a way to talk to people to keep them engaged and to keep them excited about being outdoors. I also think that I discovered kind of my voice speaking in front of people. I think it's really hard for people to do public speaking sometimes, and when you're an environmental educator, not only are you speaking in front of people, but you have to draw their attention in an area that is so distracting. So I've just learned so much from it, and really just such transferable skills into the work world. So it's been really great.
Question number 5. What do you hope students you have taught have gotten out of environmental education lessons?
I really hope my students have gained a lot of confidence in being outside, especially since, like I said, since a lot of the students might not have access to the outdoors, especially working in Southern California. I think it's a little bit more likely that students don't have the ability to go outside and go explore outside. So I really hope that they feel confident in themselves and that they can do this long hike, or they can do this really hard recreational activity, I guess, something that really challenges them. So that's one lesson that I really hope that they gain. Also, I hope that they just have some sort of appreciation for the outdoors, and that they learn something new about a new topic in the outdoors. For example, my favorite topic to teach to kids is aquatic invertebrates, and that's usually because a lot of the kids enjoy it. And I think, especially for the girls that I'll work with, it's really special to see them just getting down and dirty and, not even thinking about any sort of stereotype of like getting dirty, or that girls can't, play in the dirt and play in the mud. And I even remember having a girl who came up to me and she wanted to know if she could do this for a career. And I told her, you absolutely can do this for a career. And I told her what it is. And I told her, go to college, learn about insects. And she was excited about it. And I don't even know if she's ever going to become an entomologist, but I think that, at least it's in her radar. It was something that was never probably had crossed her mind that she could do, but now she at least knows that it's a possibility. And so I hope that students just learn about something new, and maybe they find a new interest in their life. And I would say that that's pretty much those are my 2 biggest goals that I'll have with a group of students.
I hope that the students I have worked with care more about the natural world in their own neighborhood. And I specifically choose the word neighborhood rather than backyard, because I think to say backyard can be limiting to those who might not live in a housing situation where they have a backyard. So I like to say in their neighborhood. When I was a little kid in elementary school, I remember anything we learned about nature was pretty focused on maybe the elephants being endangered on other continents, or the crisis the Amazon rainforest is facing, which are all really valuable and important topics that we should be learning about. but I felt like I didn't know very much about the nature in my own neighborhood, in my own hometown. And I think it's more impactful to learn about that, especially when you're young, because that's where you have the most power and influence. I might not be able to do a lot that I can, see the results of as far as saving the rainforest or saving elephants, but I can pick up trash along the creek that flows behind my school. I can choose to stay on trail. I can learn how to respect the wildlife that is in my hometown. And so that's really where we have the most power and influence. And so I hope students come away from whatever their experience was, just thinking about how they have that power in their own neighborhood. The second thing is that I also hope that my students come away knowing that nature is for everyone. Nature shouldn't be and isn't limited to people of certain backgrounds or people who can afford specific types of gear, or people of specific personalities. Nature is for everyone.
I think that something that sticks out to me is I hope that they realize that being outside and exploring is so much better than sitting and playing video games, because I feel like that's been lost in the generation behind us, and it makes me really sad to think about how much time I spent outside as a kid playing and exploring and really learning about our natural world through my five senses. And if kids don't have that opportunity, they simply just won't develop the stewardship aspect that's so important. So I really hope that they took some activities or something they could show their family to do in their backyard. I also hope that they, no matter who they were, they realize that they have a place in nature and that anyone is welcome there. Just to feel comfortable being out there, whether it's going on a hike or just going on a walk in your neighborhood. Just that they belong there and that nature is an integral part of us as humans.
How does environmental education play a role in your life today? I would say, as of right now, unfortunately, I am not in environmental education because of the pandemic and everything that's going on right now. I was working at outdoor science schools before, and unfortunately there just aren't any field trips happening right now, and so that's not really on anyone's radar for right now. But I am trying to open up a Latino outdoors program in Inland Empire, so at least I'll be able to work with people and getting them outside, hiking, maybe even camping, or just trying to get people to experience something new outside. And we can definitely learn, we can learn about different topics. Like we can learn about leaves, we can learn about photosynthesis, we could learn about the wildlife that's around the area. So hopefully that pans out. And I just love environmental education, and so I've really been missing it lately. So it's really nice to have some sort of outlet to be able to get back into it. Hopefully by the end of the year, things are a little bit more normal, but we will see how everything works out.
I currently work as a seasonal park ranger in a state park in Utah. Because of COVID, our opportunities to provide environmental education in any form, whether that's interpretive displays or formal programs, has been really limited due to COVID. So I hope in the future to be working in a more environmental education focused position, but for now, the reality is that opportunities in environmental education are pretty limited everywhere. And that's also why I think environmental education at home is really critical right now. We live in a world where travel and interactions are limited right now. And I think being able to do those opportunities in your own neighborhood and your local parks is what really matters right now when we can't do those long distance trips anymore. As far as how environmental education continues to play a role in my life today, even though I'm not currently working as an environmental educator. I think it's really about a mindset. For me, environmental education isn't just how you teach how you approach working with students. It's also how you approach learning on your own as an individual. And it's really cliche and kind of cheesy, but I think having that mindset of an environmental educator is having the mindset of a lifelong learner. Even if I can't be teaching right now, I want to continue learning about the natural world. I want to continue asking questions. And when I do get to work with students again, I'm really excited to be able to share that mindset with them.
So aside from the fact that anytime I'm on a hike with family or friends that I'm identifying plants and trying to have teachable moments, my actual career job now, post the ELC, is in sales support. So I talk with people every day, and what my company sells is environmental monitoring sensors, which I think is really cool because we can't really have change if we don't collect the data to prove that things are kind of, heating up in terms of our climate. So just the public speaking skills, the ability to communicate with another person, and the knowledge base of having a natural resources background is, so you need to capture data from a river because there's a mining site that has spilled a bunch of contaminants in. Oh, I understand that. Like, you're going to need to collect data for these parameters. And, oh, yeah, I've actually been to that place. Anything like that. It's been really beneficial for me in my career. So, what do you hope to see for the future of environmental education?
Well, I really hope to see environmental education being taught in every single school. And I hope that students can find some sort of way to be outside and learning about environmental education, or just finding some sort of outlet. And I think I love just watching kids be able to spend a whole week away from their parents or from comfort, I guess, and just really watch them open up and really blossom from the experience. And so I really would love to see that sort of experience happen in every single school. It's very difficult because of funding, but I have seen some incredible students come through, and they've been so thankful for the whole experience, and they are always just so excited to be outside, and sometimes it's exactly what they need. And even if it's just for a few days, it's sometimes going to be life-changing for a lot of them.
I hope that environmental education becomes more mainstream, or more common, for lack of a better word. My hope is that more decision makers in the education systems kind of see the value of getting outdoors and exploring over focusing on test scores and test results. As awful as the pandemic has been, I do think that it's an opportunity to change the way that we do school. And I think environmental education should be a key component of kind of the new way that we do school. The most valuable thing about environmental education is that it's not about learning facts. Environmental education is about learning to ask questions and learning to think critically and maybe answer some of those questions on your own. And these are skills that are valuable in any context of education, and really, to put it very broadly, any context of life.
I think something that I didn't realize about environmental education until I was in it was how disproportionate it is in terms of inclusivity and diversity. It makes sense when you hear about it, but most of the people that are out doing these sporty things out in nature are people that have the money to do that and kind of the privilege to do that. So what I'm really hoping for the future is that we can expand environmental education into urban areas and into areas that, people of color don't normally have the same accessibility to get into nature. So kind of being able to incorporate environmental education into our school systems and, have those moments outside, whether it's in a park or in a forest, just giving those opportunities to kids and that exposure to the natural world will really be something that affects our future leaders and the things that they vote on and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see the future of environmental education. I think that there's always opportunities for people to learn outside, and that to really understand the whole of the world and the way that everything connects is really through nature. And you can teach anything through nature. That's the great thing about it. So I'm excited about the future. I hope that environmental education continues to grow and to reach different communities. And I think that this show is really just a good starting point. Just to start the conversation, get people listening. Maybe it inspires someone to go outside and do an activity, and that leads to something else and then something else. So